I still remember the first time I met Lyra. She appeared out of nowhere in the crowded market of Aerith, her tall, lithe frame moving gracefully through the throngs of merchants and travelers. Her skin shimmered faintly like liquid silver under the sunlight, and her eyes, a piercing shade of violet, seemed to look straight into my soul. I wasn't supposed to notice her. Honestly, I had no business getting involved with someone like her. She was different, alien, yet intoxicatingly human in her gestures. I had been in Aerith for only a week, sent on a routine trade mission for my company. The planet was a hub of interstellar commerce, but beneath its gleaming towers and bustling markets, I sensed something unusual. Aerith wasn't just another stop in the galaxy. It had a rhythm, a pulse, almost as if it was alive. I felt that pulse the moment Lyra approached me, smiling in a way that seemed almost familiar. "I noticed you looking at the Zendari crystals," she said, pointing to the display of luminous gemstones that pulsed with energy. Her voice was melodic, echoing slightly, almost as if it carried multiple harmonics at once. "Do you want to see the real collection?" Her words caught me off guard. I chuckled nervously. Sure. I didn't know there was more." Lyra's smile widened. "There's always more if you know where to look." That was how it started. She led me away from the crowded market, weaving through narrow alleys until we reached a sleek, unassuming hover lift that whisked us away to the top of a crystalline tower. The lift doors opened, and I found myself in a spacious, minimalist apartment, walls shimmering with embedded starlight panels. I glanced at her, puzzled. "This is yours?" I asked. Lyra laughed softly. "Not exactly. It's temporary. But it's comfortable, isn't it?" I nodded, unsure whether to comment further. She gestured toward a low table, and I sat as she brought out a tray of exotic fruits, some glowing faintly, others pulsing softly, as if they were alive. As we ate, we spoke about trivial things, trade routes, interstellar cuisine, the quirks of different species, but I felt an underlying tension, a secret that hung between us like a curtain I wasn't meant to peek behind. Then, unexpectedly, Lyra's expression shifted. "Would you like to visit my home?" she asked. I blinked. "Your home? You live here?" She shook her head. "No. This is temporary. But my real home, it's a bit unconventional." I hesitated. A part of me wanted to say no. The rational side screamed that I didn't know her, that this was a bad idea. But another part, a more foolish, more adventurous part, whispered yes. "Okay," I said finally. "I'd like to see it." Her smile was triumphant, and she extended her hand. The moment our fingers brushed, a strange warmth spread through my body, a sensation I couldn't describe. It wasn't electric, nor was it entirely physical. It was awareness, as if our minds had brushed against one another. The journey to her home was surreal. We traveled in a sleek craft that cut through the atmosphere of Aerith with no sound, passing over cities that glowed like constellations against the darkening sky. Lyra didn't speak much during the flight, only occasionally pointing out landmarks with quiet reverence. Finally, we arrived at a colossal structure nestled in a valley, partially buried in the natural formations of the planet. Its architecture was organic, flowing like liquid metal, and the walls were translucent, showing shifting patterns of light and color. I realized immediately that this wasn't just a home, it was a sanctuary. Lyra led me inside, and that's when I first noticed them. A dozen women stood in the central hall, their forms similar to Lyra's, all tall, all shimmering with the same silvery hue. They moved with grace, watching us intently as we entered. I froze, unsure what to say. Lyra's voice broke the silence. "Everyone, this is a friend." The women nodded politely, though there was an unmistakable air of curiosity in their gestures. I felt like a stranger walking into a ceremony I wasn't invited to. They're my sisters, Lyra explained. Not by blood, but by choice. We share a bond older than any human can imagine. I swallowed hard. Sisters, all of you? Yes, she said softly. All of us. I nodded, attempting to mask my surprise. My mind raced. I hadn't expected a single companion, let alone an entire household of alien women. Each of them seemed to radiate strength, intelligence, and a subtle power that I couldn't quite define. And yet, despite my nervousness, I felt drawn to them. It was magnetic. Over the next several hours, Lyra guided me through the home. Rooms flowed seamlessly into one another, each space alive with shifting lights, scents, and whispers of music I couldn't hear but felt in my chest. In one room, a group of her sisters practiced a form of synchronized movement, their bodies bending and twisting in ways that seemed to defy physics. In another, others tended to bioluminescent gardens that hovered in midair, suspended by gravity-defying fields. I couldn't help but ask, "Do all of you live like this? Together?" Lyra nodded. Our home is our sanctuary. Here we share knowledge, experiences, and bonds. It is a way of life that humans rarely understand. But I wanted you to see it because, she paused, her eyes locking onto mine. Because you're different. You're not just a visitor. I sense that you belong. In some way, even if you don't yet realize it. Her words sent a shiver down my spine. I wanted to ask what she meant, but before I could, the air around us shifted. A hum filled the room, low and vibrating, like the heartbeat of the house itself. The sisters gathered around me, forming a circle, their hands hovering just above mine. I felt warmth, a gentle pressure, as if they were welcoming me, not just Lyra, but all of them. I stumbled back, overwhelmed. I don't know what this is. It's a greeting, Lyra said softly. A bond. You are safe here. Trust us. It took me several moments to calm my racing heart. Slowly, I allowed my hands to hover above theirs, feeling the strange, tingling energy that flowed through them. It was unlike anything I had ever experienced, an intricate weave of emotion, memory, and presence. I felt myself being understood, not as a human, but as a being in the galaxy, recognized by something older and wiser than myself. Days passed, or maybe weeks. Time seemed to stretch and bend within Lyra's home. The sisters taught me their ways, how to communicate without words, how to feel the energy in the walls, how to harmonize with the rhythms of the planet itself. I learned that the bond Lyra shared with her sisters was not just emotional, it was neurological, spiritual, and biochemical all at once. And through it all, Lyra remained close. She guided me patiently, sometimes teasing, sometimes serious, always present. She shared stories of her life, of the planets she had seen, the battles she had fought, and the choices that had led her here. And slowly, I realized something. I was falling in love with her. Not just with her, but with the home she had built, the sisters who embraced me, and the life that stretched before me like an uncharted starfield. One evening, Lyra took my hand and led me to the highest balcony of the home. The twin moons of Aerith hung low in the sky, casting silver light across the valley. "Do you regret coming here?" she asked quietly. I shook my head. "No, never." She smiled, her violet eyes reflecting the moons above. "Good, because this is your home now too. You belong here, with me, with us." I hesitated, then spoke the truth I had kept inside. "I don't know if I fully understand any of this, but I know that I want to stay. With you. With all of you." Her smile widened. "Then it is settled. You are one of us." The days turned into months. I learned the intricacies of their culture, their rituals, their ways of connecting and sharing life. I became a part of the family, participating in ceremonies that celebrated knowledge, unity, and the energy that flowed through all of Aerith. And always, Lyra stayed by my side, her presence steady, comforting, and electric all at once. It wasn't always easy. There were challenges, moments when I felt overwhelmed by the alienness of it all, moments when I questioned whether I truly belonged. But every time, the sisters, and especially Lyra, reminded me that belonging wasn't about understanding everything. It was about trust, acceptance, and love. Years passed, though time in Aerith was strange and elastic. I became fluent in their ways, connected to the home as if it were an extension of my own being. And through it all, Lyra never left my side. She became my guide, my anchor, my partner. One night, as we watched the first light of a new sun stretch across the valley, Lyra spoke softly. "Do you remember the market, the first time we met?" I nodded, smiling. "I thought you were just a stranger. Now, I can't imagine life without you." She reached out, brushing her fingers against mine. "And I can't imagine life without you either. You came into our home, our lives, and you stayed. You chose to belong, and in doing so, you became one of us. Forever." I realized then that the home I had once entered as a visitor, terrified and uncertain, had become my sanctuary. Lyra and her sisters had shown me a way of life that transcended species, beyond the limitations of human understanding. I had found a family, a home, and a love that stretched across the cosmos. And as I looked at Lyra, standing among her sisters, bathed in the light of 2 moons and a rising sun, I knew I had found my place. My heart belonged here. My soul belonged here. And Lyra, she would remain by my side forever. Because some encounters are not fleeting. Some bonds are not broken by time, distance, or difference. Some love is universal. And mine had found its home. Years passed, though time in Aerith was strange and elastic. I became fluent in their ways, connected to the home as if it were an extension of my own being. I celebrated the rituals, learned the songs, and walked the glowing gardens with Lyra, who never left my side. But even as I grew comfortable, I knew the universe beyond Aerith still waited. There were trade missions, travelers, and strangers who might stumble upon the home, and some of them might see it as a threat. One evening, as the twin moons rose low in the sky, Lyra called me to the central chamber. The sisters were gathered, their bodies shimmering in soft silver light, and the energy in the room hummed with a sense of anticipation. I realized then that this was more than a ceremony. It was a passage, a recognition that I had become fully part of their family. Lyra approached me, her eyes glowing softly. "You have learned our ways. You have shared our lives, and you have chosen to stay. Tonight, you are no longer just a visitor. You are one of us, in every sense of the word." The sisters formed a circle around us, hands raised as they channeled energy into the space. I felt it flow into me, warm and electrifying, weaving itself into my very being. I could sense each of them, their memories, their emotions, their loyalty, and their love. And at the center of it all, Lyra's presence was constant, grounding me, binding me, claiming me as hers and letting me claim her. "You will remain with us as long as we exist," Lyra whispered. "And I will remain with you." Her words echoed in my mind, and I realized something profound. I had found more than love. I had found a home, a purpose, and a family that transcended species. For the first time in my life, I understood what it meant to truly belong. As the energy of the ceremony settled, Lyra reached for my hand. Do you remember the market the first time we met? She asked softly. I nodded, smiling. I thought you were just a stranger. Now, I can't imagine life without you. She laughed lightly, a sound that resonated through the chamber like a song. And I cannot imagine life without you either. You came to us, uncertain and cautious, and you stayed. You opened your heart, and it has been accepted. Forever. The sisters stepped back, forming a protective circle around us, their eyes filled with pride and warmth. Lyra and I stood together, hands intertwined, hearts beating in sync with the rhythm of the house. I promise, I said quietly, I will remain by your side. I will honor this home, your sisters, and everything you have shown me. I belong here, with you. Lyra smiled, pressing her forehead to mine. And I will remain by your side. No matter what the universe throws at us, no matter how far we travel, we are together. This home, our family, it is ours, forever. The twin moons reflected in her violet eyes, and I felt a surge of certainty, warmth, and love like I had never known. In that moment, the fears, uncertainties, and doubts of the past vanished. I had found a home, a family, and a love that transcended time, distance, and species. From that day forward, my life became intertwined with Lyra's and her sisters. We faced challenges together, celebrated victories, and mourned losses, always as one unit. The home was no longer just a place. It was a living organism, a reflection of our bond, and a sanctuary for anyone in need. And every evening, as the light of Eretha's twin moons bathed the valley in silver, I would look at Lyra and know, without question, that I had found what few ever do, a love that endures beyond comprehension, a family chosen and cherished, and a home that would last forever. Because some encounters are not fleeting. Some bonds are not broken by time, distance, or difference. Some love is universal, and mine had found its home, its family, its forever.